Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story will not leave anyone indifferent because we'll talk about HOA and about justice, which was achieved by our OP in court. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I fought my HOA and won in court. Our HOA is so shady they had my car towed without notice from my private garage and tried to justify it by blaming the county codes for the reason. This was in September. I filed a lawsuit because they refused to speak to me about it, went to court suing both the HOA and the tow company because in our CC&Rs about parking, it states specifically that the penalty for any violation is a $100 fine, max allowed by the law. They also tried to take a picture of a violation notice on my car but forgot to delete the metadata from the photo. The data showed up with a date taken 1 day after it was towed. When the judge looked at that metadata info and when the HOA told judge they don't own our roads, they're county property. The judge immediately stopped the case and said she heard enough. HOA's not allowed to tow cars in neighborhood anymore, period. She ordered the HOA to pay the $2,400 tow bill and told me to file a small claims action to get paid for loss of use. When we walked out of the courtroom, the tow company driver said, "We'll leave your car out on the street in front of our tow yard." I told them, "Tow it back to my house." He said, "No." I turned back to the judge and asked, "Could you please have them return the car to where they towed it from?" Judge stands up from her chair and said, "If he wants you to tow it to New York, you'll do it and charge the HOA whatever the cost. You're lucky you're not going to jail for auto theft." The HOA manager started to speak and was immediately interrupted by the judge. "Bailiff, arrest him." Oh, the sweet taste of justice. Going to court next week for the small claims hearing on the loss of use and damage done to my car while it was at the tow yard. Sweet, sweet justice. Good on you for not laying hands on the tow guy. Worked out in your favor for sure. And our second story. Documentation isn't ready, but it's rolled out? Good luck getting support for that system. Here's the story of my bad A service desk manager and how he was the best manager I've ever had in tech. So for anyone who's worked in service desk, you know that the most important thing for the support of a new system is the documentation and escalation information for the new system. Whether the system works or not is one thing, but to support it, there needs to be documentation on it, or the support team is just firing from the hip, which helps no one. Well, let's travel back to the distant year of 2017 when I worked for a bank and they were rolling out a new kind of credit card sign-up, which is the most riveting sentence you'll read all day. Now, we owned the process guidance for this, and as such, it was expected that we would know exactly how to do the process and where it could go wrong, or how to fix it, etc., etc. Well, we happily do that for the systems we have documentation for all the time. However, this particular process was due to be implemented, and on rollout eve, we had a big meeting about it, but my manager noticed something weird. He'll be M, and the project manager in charge of the rollout will be Jackwagon. M: "Hey, Jackwagon, everything looks great and all, and I'm glad the stress tests and implementation tests went well, but my team seems to be lacking the documentation to support this." "Where's that documentation at?" Jackwagon: "The documentation's still being worked on, but it's coming." Mind you, this is 12 hours before rollout. M: "So you're telling me that the documentation is not ready for the launch, but we're launching anyways? If there's a problem, we can take that offline for now. Let's focus on what's important." Conversation between the two died there, and there was no offline conversation to be had, but my manager had just been told that our team was not important and he was PO'd, so he did things the only way this glorious man knew how. Cut to the day of rollout, and everyone on my team is dreading it, ready for the onslaught of calls about something we know nothing about. But that's the thing. No calls came. Nothing related to the new rollout came up at all. Confused, I walked into my manager's office and said, "Wow, that new thing must be really intuitive. We haven't gotten any calls at all on it." M: "Are you sure?" Me: "Yeah, no calls at all." "What's going on? Did you do something?" "Why don't you call the service desk line real quick with me here?" This guy, this god of malicious compliance, had changed the service desk phone routing tree So the first option was, if you're calling about new rollout, please press 1 to be routed to the support team for the newly created system, and had it route directly to the project manager's company cell phone number. He had about 50 calls lined up and more on the way. I see people go in and out of my manager's office all day, and every time I see him point to our service desk rules for support poster. It's a long story, but it was official tech department policy signed off by the CTO, and number 1 was, if it's not documented in the KB, it's not supported by service desk. So logically, the next line of support for something the service desk cannot support is the project manager in charge of the new rollout. At least that was the silly way the bank support system was structured. If we needed to escalate beyond Tier 3, we'd ask the project manager who handled the project, and they'd take the issue from there. So by aggregating 2 policies together, my manager justified to his boss, the CTO, to enable an upfront message to route straight to the project manager for support of the new rollout. We had documentation 2 days later when the original estimate was 2 weeks. I have a feeling he was expecting your team to fail. Damn, your boss must have been awesome. And our last story. Karen trespasses on our property and we call the police. The cast: EM, Karen, obviously, EK, her kid, M, my mom, me. Think back to the summer of 2018, the year this story occurred. My mom and I were home alone because the rest of our family was either working or at school. We're sitting in our kitchen and chatting a bit while my cute dog is outside in the garden napping under some trees. We can watch her through our kitchen window that offers the perfect view into our garden. Said garden is quite big. We have a miniature greenhouse, lots of plants and flowers, fruit trees, etc. And in the far back is a big trampoline, a sandbox, and 2 swings. We live at the main street of our suburbs, so a lot of people pass by over the day. Our backyard is not only cut off by a gate, but the garden is also separated from the parking space for our cars through tall bushes. You can barely see the garden outside of the property, and you're only able to see one of the swings at a specific angle. The gate was closed when the story happened. So my mom and I are just talking when suddenly my dog appears next to me, very much frightened. Trying to calm her down, I sit on the floor and cuddle her, wondering what scared her so much that she fled the garden. You have to know that she's very easily scared. She never barks and doesn't attack in situations of danger. She runs. So obviously something must have happened, and it wasn't the neighbor's cat for sure. While I'm on the floor level, my mom has a perfect view into the garden and suddenly says, "What the actual F?" I stand up and look outside as well, only to see a woman and her daughter I've never seen before in my life standing in the middle of our garden. My mom and I decide to confront her, obviously, and go outside. My sweet pup follows us, ready to protect us even though she's scared to death. M: "Excuse me, what are you doing here?" EM: "EK just wanted to play and I need to relax for a bit. This playground is just perfect for her." She sits down on one of our outside stools. M: "I'm sorry, this is private property. My family lives here. This is our private garden. You can't be here." "Don't be silly. This is public space." She literally closed her eyes and faced the sun after that. I'll never forget that. "You're literally trespassing. I want you and your daughter to leave right now." EM opens her eyes again. "Don't lie to me. I'm not stupid." Me: "Okay, miss, we're giving you a minute to collect your kid and leave our garden, or we're calling the cops on you. You're committing a crime. Please get your daughter and leave." EM: "What the F? Are you people stupid or something? My daughter just wants to play, and she's not breaking anything." I was really pissed at this point. "Effing leave our garden or I'll sue the crap out of you." She had the audacity to roll her eyes at me. My mom and I just looked at each other, and she takes out her phone to call the police. Karen sees this and suddenly gets up really fast. EM: Okay, we're leaving," calls for EK. "Effing horse! You stuck-up bees!" We decide to ignore the swearing and just watch her kid walking over to her with a shovel in her hand. My mom still has the phone in her hand, ready to call. "But Mommy, I want to play." "I know, but these bad people don't want us here. They're really mean to us, so we have to leave." "But Mommy..." EK just cries out "Mommy" for a solid minute while EM is taking her time getting ready to leave our garden. Now remember that my sweet angel dog was still next to me, scared but ready to protect my butt. Suddenly, that effing entitled brat just stops crying, looks at my dog, and throws the effing shovel at my dog and actually hits her hard. That thing being made out of metal must have hurt like hell, and my dog cries out in pain. EK hit her at the head and neck. I pick her up as fast as I can, basically screaming at the kid that she just willingly hurt a living and feeling animal, while my mom doesn't even wait for a second and calls the police. EM is yelling at us that she and her brat didn't do anything wrong and that this was all our own fault, that she's ready to leave, etc., while actually trying to leave, but since there's only one exit out of the garden because of our high bushes blocking the rest, my mom simply blocks it. I'm calling my brother at the same time to come home as soon as possible. to go to the vet with our pup. My brother and the police arrive at the same time, and while he takes my angel away, I stay with my mom. EM is still yelling, and EK is crying again. F that kid, honestly. And EM, being a true Karen, tries to blame us. But since she's obviously not where she's supposed to be and she's fighting back, she hit one of the cops in the face, she finds herself in cuffs pretty quick. In the end, EM got convicted, is that the correct term? For trespassing and assault of an officer, but because her little crap attacked my dog, they got away with that. To this day, I still ask myself how the heck a person can think that our garden is a public playground. You can barely see it from outside the property. Like, what awful people. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. And your poor pup, I hope she's okay. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.